We see several gender differences, especially in young children. Although they look very much the same when they're young, there are several differences that impact your classroom teaching and their development. First of all, we look at their physical development. And sometimes we can't tell the difference in their earliest years. But on average, girls reach developmental milestones earlier than boys. That includes talking and even sometimes some of the gross motor, but definitely the fine motor skills. But we really see that their brains are different more than anything. And this impacts how we teach them. One of the biggest differences is in their vision. Newborn babies see differently. We notice that females see people and relationships when they see. They make those connections, whereas boys are attracted to movement. Also, boys' vision is not as developed to see different colors as females are. When it comes to hearing, we see that boys have hearing, even on the first day of life, that is much less distinct than a girl's hearing. And so they do need to hear louder things, or they're attracted to louder things because their hearing is less developed. And this continues through our lives, those gender differences of sight and hearing. Also, body temperature is usually different. Boys like environments that are slightly cooler because their body temperature is warmer, and girls are typically cold and actually like environments that are warmer. And we see these differences through young children all the way up to adults. Now, when we look at cognitive skills, there's no significant gender-based differences in overall intelligence, but boys are slightly more visual spatial than girls. That means they have a greater ability to visualize and make pictures in their heads, and sometimes this leads to more success in mathematics and science because they can picture things working in their heads better than girls. This is not necessarily always the case, but it is a reason why we want to foster those kind of skills in girls, because it might not come as naturally. Also, we see that boys tend to spend more time than girls do in activities that are building these visual spatial skills. Boys seem to like blocks and Legos and puzzles much more than girls, and girls like to do things better that are more relationship based, more social. So we don't want to force children to do things they don't enjoy, but we do want to give them opportunities to build on maybe some weaknesses that they have. Socially, this is where we see the girls really differ than the boys. Girls engage in more imaginative play than boys, and girls usually play in smaller groups than boys. Boys are usually in larger groups, and their play takes up a lot of space because it's very heavy in their gross motor skills. We see that girls tend to create relationships and friendships based on anything. They're very open to relationships, whereas boys usually make friends with someone they have a mutual interest with. Girls talk more about emotions and feelings than boys do. And so we see these things continued throughout our life as significant differences in our genders, but they actually are occurring in our younger learners as well. Sometimes we see boys being a little more aggressive than girls and a little more competitive and physically active, but again, a lot of the environment will contribute to these gender differences, and setting up experiences and boundaries really helps control this without any trouble. The last one is a big one, and that's our expectations that are gender related. And we see that much of gender related behavior is not biological, although some is. But a lot of it is a learned behavior. And there are several studies online that you can watch videos of where we see children being asked to make decisions based on gender. And they see roles of women or girls as one thing and roles of men as one thing. And this starts helping them make decisions of what they should be doing in their younger ages. So we see girls looking at females as the motherly role and the person who takes care of people, and we see them playing more pretend play activities that have babies and have kitchens, and where they are engaging in jobs that we see females usually doing. Stereotypically, we see boys, of course, they seem to be more visual spatial, so we see them building more and more roughhousing and physically active, but we see them doing things they think boys should do and avoiding the things that boys shouldn't do. We know that the best practice in this case is to give children the opportunity to play with what they enjoy playing with. We should not force boys to play with dolls, and we should not force girls to play with blocks and trucks. But if they like that, it should be open to them. And we find that when we give children natural choices, that they'll make the decision that best matches what they enjoy.